Hello and welcome to another TLDR news video. With a number of conspiracies and disinformation campaigns circulating on the internet and within group chats, ranging from the claim that the coronavirus has some sort of link to the rollout of 5G, to the belief that Bill Gates is planning to track us all with vaccines, many have questioned whether it's time to bring in fake news or disinformation laws to combat these theories from a legal standpoint. So in this video, we'll take a look at how these laws work elsewhere, and the potential benefits and issues that come alongside them. This video was selected by our backers on Patreon. We gave them a long list of potential topics, sorry, no spoilers, and they chose this one as their favourite. If you want to get involved in future votes, you only need to donate $3 a month, with higher levels getting a ton more perks. Check out the Patreon and support the channel by clicking the link in the description. Before we start this video, I wanted to set some parameters. When we refer to fake news, we mean it in the simplest terms possible. We mean news that is fake, incorrect, misleading, untrustworthy, fake. We mean when media outlets or individuals deliberately spread misinformation, spreading news which runs counter to the real events or scientific consensus. We absolutely do not mean news that makes us uncomfortable. So we don't mean when politicians and those online refer to things as fake news purely because they don't fit their narrative. We absolutely don't mean this kind of uncomfortable fake news. We mean the objectively fake and misleading news. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at this very real problem. And it certainly is a problem. According to now weekly surveys conducted by Ofcom, 93% of people are still accessing news about COVID at least once per day, with 50% of respondents saying that they've come across false or misleading information about the virus in the last week alone. The level of misinformation is always worrying, but when it's surrounding an already confusing and deadly virus, it's an even bigger concern. So understandably, this has led to discussion about misinformation laws in the UK and around the world. Ultimately though, there is no law that applies to online disinformation in the UK, with it being up to the platform, be it Facebook, Twitter or YouTube, to moderate and ultimately take down fake news if it deems it necessary to do so. Current laws allow for legal action when something's defamatory, gives rise to invasion of privacy, or is inciting violence, hatred or terrorism, but not just when something is downright false. From a regulation standpoint, there are a number of regulators who cover tangential areas, but the issue is that none of them actively cover online news. Ofcom, the main communications regulator in the UK, focuses on the regulation of broadcast media, TV and radio, and not online content, with their website explicitly stating that we do not handle what people write or post on the internet. Ofcom themselves issued advice to ITV after comments made by Eamon Holmes about a potential link between 5G and the coronavirus on the This Morning programme, stating that in our view, Eamon Holmes' ambiguous comments were ill-judged and risked undermining viewers' trust in advice from public authorities and scientific evidence. And in a separate ruling, Ofcom also concluded that a London-based TV channel, London Live, broken broadcasting rules by airing an interview with David Icke, who referred to an electromagnetic, technologically generated soup of radiation toxicity, which he claims damages the immune system of the elderly. So while Ofcom may get involved with TV and radio, it does not regulate online material. Alternatively, the Independent Press Standards Association and the Independent Monitor of the Press do regulate online news content, but only if those providers sign up to them, something which outlets spreading fake news are very unlikely to do. The issue of combating fake news has been something on the government's mind for a while now, with the Committee on Standards in Public Life saying that fake news is troubling for several reasons. A central concern is that if you cannot trust the truthfulness of some facts, you start losing trust in all facts. Widespread fake news about political facts could lead the public to see more and more aspects of politics in a false light, and would lead to still greater mistrust of the public sphere. Democracy is ultimately about choices, but choices need to be informed, and the information needs to be trustworthy. If fake news is tolerated and becomes commonplace, there will be grave consequences for public attitudes, democratic processes, and the conduct of public life. The risks increase with the growth in use of social media, but the associated problems would not be confined to such material. Without reassurance that the fake and genuine are being distinguished, there is a real risk of contamination across all sources, with public trust and confidence in public life declining further still, whatever the origin of the misinformation or its channel of communication. As the problem gets worse, mere allegations will undermine credibility of facts which are actually accurate. For many, fake news is a very real threat, with people even going as far as burning down 5G masts, something that we covered in another video, and leading to people ignoring the voices of reason, further undermining trust. And according to many, if we don't act to stop the spread of fake news right now, it will become harder and harder to distinguish fact from fiction. The Secret Intelligence Service, more commonly known as MI6, see misinformation as a hybrid threat to the UK, part of fourth-generation espionage. Others argue that the issue of fake news is being blown way out of proportion, with regulation being used as a vehicle for online censorship. Nonetheless, a key issue arising from actually regulating it is working out what fake news or disinformation actually is. Typical pieces of fake news will often include a nugget of truth, which is then bent to attract clicks and views, or to incite fear. The BBC's definition of fake news refers to false information deliberately circulated by those who have scant regard for the truth, but hope to advance particular, often extreme political causes and make money out of online traffic. In a report by the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Committee, the government itself accepted the term fake news is misleading, instead focusing on disinformation, the deliberate creation and sharing of false and/or manipulated information that's intended to deceive and mislead audiences, either for the purposes of causing harm or for political, personal or financial gain, and misinformation, inadvertent sharing of false information. A number of countries around the world have managed to implement fake news laws or formal practices, including the likes of Singapore, Russia, France, Germany, Malaysia and Hungary. We actually touched on Hungary's new emergency law on our EU channel, and it's linked down below. But of particular note is Singapore, which goes further than laws elsewhere. Through the Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Act, it is illegal to communicate a false statement of fact that is likely to be prejudicial to the security of Singapore, public health, safety, tranquility, or finances, to the friendly relations of Singapore with other countries, influence the outcome of an election, or diminish public confidence in the performance of the government. The law gave government ministers the power to order something to be taken down, or require a correction alongside it, with a maximum fine of 1 million Singapore dollars, close to £600,000. When it comes to other countries, Russia enacted a law enforcing tough fines up to 400,000 rubles for those deemed to be spreading fake news or those who show blatant disrespect for the state. France passed an anti-fake law empowering judges to take down fake news during the 3-month period before an election. And Germany passed the Network Enforcement Act, known as NetzDG for short, back in 2018, bringing in fines of up to €50 million if platforms do not remove obviously illegal hate speech within the first 24 hours of posting, an unquestionably massive fine which has promoted much action. And here lies one of the key faults with many fake news laws: the scope for abuse. Singapore used that very law to take action against a Facebook post by an opposition politician that questioned the governance of the city-state sovereign wealth fund and some of their investment decisions. Now, we must caveat this with the fact that the issues arising in one country doesn't necessarily mean that they'll arise in another. It's still, however, a concern in the minds of many. What do you think, though? Do you think that we should or even could regulate fake news? Or are the risks too great? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, you can continue the conversation over on Discord. One last thing, if you're interested in this video all about the laws and regulations of fake news, you might enjoy the video we put up on the EU channel yesterday. In that, we discussed if people or countries will be able to sue the government for the action, inaction, or negligence surrounding the coronavirus. If that sounds up your street, then there's a link down below to the EU channel. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more updates, and by hitting the bell icon, you'll ensure that you're notified every time we release a video. For more from us across other social networks, you can simply search for TLDR News. And a special thanks to our Patreon backers for making videos like this one possible.